Imagine telling someone from 2010 that in just over a decade, Austin, Texas would become one of America's largest and most influential cities. To be honest, they probably wouldn't believe you. You see, back in 2010, Austin was mostly known for being the quirky state capital with a good music scene and a decent barbecue joint or two. It was a city of barely 800,000 people that was more famous for its college football team than anything else. Yet here we are, and Austin has exploded into a tech hub, cultural powerhouse, and a city that grew by a staggering 33% between 2010 and 2020 according to US Census Bureau data, making it the fastest growing major metropolitan area in the United States. But there's something strange about Texas's capital city. Despite having over 2 million people in its metro area, Austin remains the largest city in America without a team in any of the true major professional sports leagues. Now, yes, Austin does have Austin FC in Major League Soccer, but let's be real. According to a 2023 Gallup poll, only 8% of Americans consider soccer their favorite sport to watch, compared to 32% for football and 28% for basketball. So when we talk about Major League sports in this video, we're focusing on the Big Four: NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL, also known as the sports that people actually care about, unlike soccer. So today, we're going to break down exactly why Austin lacks any of these major franchises and why it might actually stay that way for a long time to come. But before we dive in, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the longhorn in the room, because you can't understand Austin's professional sports situation without first understanding the absolutely massive influence of the University of Texas. Think about this. While Austin may not have pro sports, it does have a stadium that seats over 100,000 people, Texas Memorial Stadium, home of the Longhorns. That's bigger than any NFL stadium. And it's not just the size. UT Athletics generated over $250 million in revenue in 2023, making it the highest earning college athletic department in the country. That's more than some entire pro sports franchises. But it's not just about money. The University of Texas has become so deeply embedded in Austin's culture and identity that it's practically impossible to separate the two. On game days, the entire city turns burnt orange. Local businesses plan their entire fall schedules around home football games. The university employs over 23,000 people, making it one of the city's largest employers. When you combine this cultural dominance with the political influence that comes from being the flagship university of the country's second largest state, you start to understand why adding pro sports to this equation isn't simple. Just look at what happened in 1984 when the NBA's San Diego Clippers were considering a move to Austin. University officials didn't just quietly oppose it, they actively lobbied against it, worried it would compete with Longhorn basketball for fans and corporate dollars. The team ended up in Los Angeles instead. This wasn't a one-time thing either. Whenever the topic of Major League sports comes up, UT's influence looms large in the background. But here's where things get interesting. The University of Texas isn't the only reason Austin lacks pro sports. The city's rapid growth has actually created a perfect storm of challenges that make attracting a Major League franchise surprisingly difficult. Let's start with geography. Like we discussed early, Austin's population is absolutely booming, but this is causing the city to be extremely squeezed. To the west, you've got the hill country with its protected lands and environmental restrictions. To the east, you're dealing with historical preservation and equity concerns. Finding enough land to build a modern stadium complex, we're talking 50 to 100 acres minimum, isn't just expensive, it's politically fraught. Then there's the market saturation problem. Look at a map of Texas's major pro teams. Houston's about 160 miles away with the Texans, Rockets, and Astros. Dallas is 200 miles north with the Cowboys, Mavericks, and Rangers. San Antonio's just 80 miles south with the Spurs. All these teams have established fan bases that extend into Austin. Think about it. If you've grown up in Austin rooting for the Cowboys your whole life, going to games with your dad, collecting jerseys, suffering through endless playoff disappointments, are you really going to suddenly switch allegiances to some new expansion team just because they built a stadium down the street? Sports loyalty runs deep. We're talking about fans who've spent decades organizing their entire fall schedules around Cowboys games, who've painted their man caves Spurs silver and black, who've named their dogs after Rockets players. You can't just erase those generational bonds because a new team shows up. Any new franchise would essentially be starting from scratch, trying to convert fans who already have deeply established emotional and financial investments in these other Texas teams. Now, you might be thinking, But what about Austin FC? The city's Major League Soccer team launched in 2021 and has been incredibly successful, regularly selling out their 20,000-seat stadium. And you're right, this is a great example of how Austin can support pro sports, but it also shows exactly why the major leagues are so challenging. The MLS requires much less infrastructure than the NFL or MLB, has lower operating costs, and perhaps most importantly, didn't have to compete with an established power structure. The Round Rock Express, Austin's minor league baseball team, tells a similar story. They've been successful by finding the right scale, a 13,000-seat stadium in the suburbs that doesn't try to compete directly with UT or other pro teams. There's another factor at play here that might surprise you. Austin's own residents don't seem to even want a pro team. In my research for this video, I found this bumper sticker that says, "Keep Austin weird." I found this very odd, and when I dove deeper, I found out that not only is this just a bumper sticker, but it is also the unofficial slogan for the city and a genuine reflection of how this city sees itself. While Dallas builds mega stadiums and Houston chases after every major sporting event it can get, Austin seems pretty content doing its own thing, and we've got the numbers to prove it. A 2022 survey of Austin residents found that only 31% strongly supported bringing an NFL team to the city, while 42% were either neutral or opposed. Just think about that for a second. In a football-obsessed state like Texas, nearly half the city either doesn't want or doesn't care about getting an NFL team. For comparison, when Las Vegas was trying to land the Raiders, over 70% of residents were practically begging for the team to come. The difference in enthusiasm is night and day. And then there's the infrastructure challenge. Anyone who's tried to drive in Austin knows the traffic situation is already difficult. The city's public transportation system is limited compared to other major league cities. Now imagine trying to move 70,000 people in and out of a stadium district 8 Sundays a year. The city would need massive infrastructure investments, which brings us back to politics and money. Speaking of money, let's talk about the economics. Building a modern NFL stadium costs anywhere from $1.5 to $2 billion. MLB ballparks aren't much cheaper. While Austin has plenty of tech money and corporate headquarters, many of these companies already have sponsorship deals with teams in Dallas or Houston. And unlike Vegas, which can supplement sports revenue with tourism dollars, Austin's tourism industry is more focused on events like SXSW and ACL Fest. But perhaps the most compelling argument against major league sports in Austin comes from comparing it to similar cities. Portland, Oregon, for example, has roughly the same population as Austin, but only supports one major league team, the NBA's Trailblazers. Like Austin, it's a young, tech-savvy city with a strong local identity. But unlike Austin, it doesn't have to compete with multiple nearby markets or a dominant college program. So when you put all these pieces together, the University of Texas's dominance, the geographic and infrastructure challenges, the market saturation, the cultural factors, and the economic realities, you start to understand why Austin remains without major league sports. And maybe that's okay. Not every city needs to follow the same development pattern. Austin has found its own unique sports identity, one built around college athletics, soccer, minor league baseball, and Formula One racing at Circuit of the Americas. It's different from Dallas or Houston, but then again, keeping Austin weird was kind of the point all along. But what do you think? Is there something I'm missing about why major league sports could work in Austin? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into sports, economics, and city development, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.